Descent into Darkness, Season 2, a Call of Cthulhu campaign. Welcome back to Deathwatch's Call of Cthulhu campaign, Descent into Darkness, Season 2. I am Travis, and I will be your keeper today. Last time, Monroe and Professor Muller had a philosophical debate about whether it was better to go on to some existence after death or vanish into nothingness, and it came to a stalemate. And I believe you guys have since parted ways or are about to part ways.
I thought we were going to dinner.
You had finished
your dinner. We had finished dinner, and I was heading to a recent local boarding house.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Dr. Andrews has been digging into the term Latakia and had discovered that it referenced a type of tobacco. And I believe you, Mr. Whitmire, were heading off to try to get that locket fixed or some fake version of it made. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, before we get back into it, we'll give you guys a chance to introduce yourself, your character, and your current state of mind. Beginning with you, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm playing Johann Muller. I don't think Johann has too much going on right now. It's probably a confused jumble.
Oh, I'm Brandon, playing Dr. Wallace Andrews, and right now, currently extremely focused and excited on the hunt of this mystery, trying to figure out what Latakia is and means and how we can use it to help Charlie.
And I am Justin, playing Lance Monroe. I'm currently trying to continue our investigation, destroy the Corbett dagger so he can't possess anyone. And I'm very concerned about Johann's mental state.
I'm John, playing, I'm John, playing Jimmy Whitmire. So, planning on trying to scam this, what was his name, Mr. Blackman.
Yes, that's correct.
Because that's it. So I'm gonna try and scam him and figure out where he belongs to.
All right, so we'll begin today with the Boston crew, beginning with Dr. Andrews. You've just found a nearby tobacconist. The name of the shop is Clayton's, and it's only a short walk to get there from the Boston Public Library where you had discovered this information about Latakia. So is that what you're going to do, or are you going to head on to a different thing?
No, I've taken a short walk to get to this tobacconist, right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and see what I can find out about Latakia as it pertains to tobacco.
So Clayton's is inside a narrow shop that looks to be in the lower level of a larger building, maybe an apartment building of some kind. And when you go inside, it has a dim interior that seems smoky, even if it actually isn't literally smoky somehow. And it's loaded with various types of pipe tobaccos, some in tins and pouches, and others to be sold in bulk. There's also a section of the store that acts as a small workshop where you see well-sorted stock of different materials used to make pipes. And on a work table is a half-finished pipe sitting next to a hand drill. And you have a guy, short fella with an apron. He has a wiry mustache and beard, and he has longish hair, and it's sort of held back at the back of his neck with a ponytail. And he looks up as a bell jingles when you open the door. Go and give me an appearance or credit rating, Dr. Andrews.
Okay. Do credit rating. Let's let the money talk.
Dude, how did you not get mugged on the way over?
Do I get to automatically try and raise that now?
No, we're looking for criticals. Plus, I think that's with what do you call it, characteristics, your stats. But that is an extreme success. So this gentleman he has an unhappy look on his face, but he takes in the quality of your clothes and assumes that you must be a gentleman who knows what he's about, not just some wanderer off the street looking for cigarettes or cigars, but a probable pipe smoker, no doubt. And he greets you, and he's like, what can I do for you today?
Hello, sir. I am Dr. Wallace Andrews. It's a pleasure to meet you. I got your name from someone who said that you're a man who knows about tobacco.
Oh, yes, a little bit.
So if I admit to you that I've never given much thought to the pipes I use or the tobaccos I fill them with, hopefully you'll not think too little of me. And as a man of polite society and not poor, I'd like for the pipe I use and the tobacco I use to better reflect my stature, if you know what I mean. So I've come to avail upon your knowledge. If a man wanted to be taken seriously as a gentleman and a man of high station, what sort of pipe should I walk out of here with, and what sort of tobacco should I consume?
Well, that you see all depends on what you'd normally smoke.
Yeah, so I'll just tell him, like, whatever my companions normally put in their pipes,
Oh, okay.
Like, whatever comes in a cloth pouch from the dime store or whatever.
All right, we'll give you let's get a luck roll. Let's see if this term enrages him or not, whatever you come up with.
Pure nerdery.
Well,
edit
I
mode.
think back in this era, like over-the-counter pipe tobacco probably wasn't too frowned on like it is in the modern era with a bunch of hipsters.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a success there.
Okay. Yeah, so you happen to pick an English blend, which you can see lights his face up. It makes him pleased. He says, oh, well, that's not a bad choice, but what I would recommend, and he goes back and he pulls down, some tin, and he starts giving you all the basics of it. And he says, what I want you to do is when you take this out of here, I want you to spend a week with it, because you might not like it at first, but you need to think on it, enjoy the room note, let it go over your palate. Because I'm not like some other tobacconist who's going to give you something that smells good, but it's going to scorch your mouth and you won't be able to smoke again for a week.
Oh, thank you very much. So, what about a good pipe to smoke it in?
Well, you can, if you have something specific, I can make it for you, but I also have a stock you can take a look at.
I would like a nice pipe that looks nice, but is not ostentatious.
Okay. Well, he'll pull out some of his clay ones that he's made for you to take it. And they don't have like ridiculous designs on them. Like there's not a wizard for the bowl or anything like that. They're just different stem lengths and shapes and whatnot. And he says, I forgot to ask if you were a married man, because that might change the answer, or if you're going to be smoking around people who aren't smoking.
I am not married, and generally, if I would be smoking, I would be around others who also smoke.
Well, I think that the tobacco I've recommended will fit well with you. But if you find yourself in mixed company, I also have some tobaccos I could recommend that have a very gentle casing to them. It's not going to disrupt the flavor that you experience too much, but at the same time, the people around you will enjoy the aroma or the room note.
Excellent. So I'll take some of that as well then. I really appreciate your help with this, sir. And, now that I'm here, I also did have a question as I was looking into this. And as a doctor, I'm used to doing a lot of research, perhaps too much research, but I came across a term for a specific type of tobacco, or perhaps an origination of a specific type of tobacco called Latakia. And generally, people don't seem to know what I'm talking about, but they recommended that I come to you with that term and see if you could explain that to me.
Ah, yes, Latakia. Well, you see, it's sun-dried, smoke-cured tobacco produced in Latakia, or Syria, in Syria. The apocryphal story of its creation is that the tobacco farmers there had an abundance of tobacco one year, and they stored the excess in their rafters. And, you see back in those days, they burned predominantly with wood, and that smoke just aged the tobacco over a period of months. And you might think of Latakia as pre-smoked tobacco. You see a lot of the sugars are broken down, and it makes for a mild, cool smoke in the proper blend, keeps it from burning your mouth.
I see.
It has a characteristic wood smoke aroma with, I would say, floral sweet undertones. However, my wife will not describe the aroma so favorably. Now, most pipe tobacco blends use Latakia as a condiment, i.e. a smaller percentage in the blend, to add to the complexity and help control the burn. And English tobacco is defined by Latakia. You see, the imperial domain allowed them access to the leaf, whereas other states cannot so easily source the tobacco. I would not consider it an English blend myself unless Latakia were the dominant note.
I see.
Does that answer your question?
Is it rare over here in Boston?
No, I should think not. It can be difficult for American tobacco companies to obtain it. As I said, the English have their thumb on it. The French a little bit too, but predominantly the English have been known for its use. Now, Americans will sometimes claim that theirs has Latakia in it, but really it's a lesser Oriental blend. Doesn't have the same quality to it.
So forgive my ignorance, but I wonder if one were looking at a assortment of blends, is there anything about the look of it that would distinguish it from other tobaccos to an untrained eye?
Well, here, let's open that tin that I recommended to you. So he cracks it open, and you have, multicolored. He gave you a ribbon cut version of it, so it's sort of, you see different shades of tobacco leaf in there. And he kind of points at some darker flecks in the tobacco, and he says, this is the Latakia. Now, there are other tobaccos that are also darkened, but in this particular blend, this is the Latakia leaf.
I see.
Grave sin has been committed. Gotta take a whiff of that tin note the second you crack it.
Oh, he does, or Andrews does?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I would say
whoever it was.
Andrews if he's... But yeah, you got to take a whiff of that tin note. That's when it's at its peak.
Yeah, he looks over his left shoulder and he's like, I know, this is my store now, remember? And he holds the tin up and he's like, see, you can smell it. And unburned, even despite where he said his wife defines the Latakia unpleasant, unburned, it's still pleasant, a pleasant aroma too. There's a touch of like oak barrel or whiskey, you think, in there too.
I see. Okay, excellent. Well, I appreciate you. Should win an award for customer service, and I shall tell everyone I know who smokes to come here. And
Nope.
give you their
Nope.
business.
I'll not have any cigarette smokers or cigar smokers come to my shop. As you can see, I do not sell that here.
Oh, I see. So I'll look him dead in the eye and pull down my sunglasses, and I'll light up a cigarette.
No.
And I'll flick it in his face. No, no, of course, I only mean pipe smokers who I'll send here, not cigarette smokers or cigar smokers. Although I do recommend as a doctor that you smoke cigarettes regularly, as it will keep insects out of your lungs.
What's the doctor's preferred brand?
Well, obviously, like
Lucky Strikes.
yeah. Something without a filter if you want to be a man. So now let me think for a second. Now, as the keeper, can you remind me why I can't? Okay, so this is what Latakia is what Charlie wrote in gravy on the journal, right?
Yeah.
So now I know, I can basically tell what it looks like, and mostly it's used in blends, right?
Yeah, if you ask them, they're
Like, would anybody smoke this by itself?
purely.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people who are crazy enough to do it, but
And what would happen if they did?
nothing. It's
Expensive?
it would be strong all by itself.
I see.
Yeah, like if a blend commonly has more Latakia than the other tobaccos in it, it's usually called a lap bomb, and it might be higher in nicotine it might not, but it's usually going to be overpowering in room note. It's going to, some people like think Latakia smells like a tire fire before it's even lit up.
I see. Okay.
Others find it like a pleasant wood smoke, but it's a strong or even dominant room note if the higher or the more amount you get.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and if you're when you're going through those questions, one of the things he corrects you on a lot is the terminology too. So if you asked about the smell, you'd be like, that's the room note, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, he says that he doesn't sell any blends like that.
Yeah.
Here.
Like a good example of like what a English blend can smell like, depending on if there's like Orientals or whatever other types of tobacco they put in there, is kind of like that stick incense.
I see.
Where it kind of has you kind of are smelling the wood burning from the stick itself, and then the incense on it kind of has sort of like a sweet kind of smell to it. Maybe sometimes like a pungent or sour smell can be in there too. So yeah.
What was this guy's name again?
Clayton of Clayton's.
I feel like we need to like turn that section into like a PSA on
tobacco facts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now Clayton, he's like, no, I don't advise anybody to smoke.
No.
You hear that, kids? Smoking's bad. Well, we'll pause there with you, Dr. Andrews, and let you ruminate on what you've learned and head over to old Slick Jimmy Whitmire as he's on the street trying to find somebody to either repair or make a facsimile of the locket he has. Now, I don't need a roll, Mr. Whitmire, to find a jeweler. That's pretty easy in a place like Boston, unless you had some specific way you wanted to do it in mind.
No specific way. I mainly, take that around, concoct some story that, it was, my great-grandmother's or something, and, horrible accident happened, and I'm trying to get a as close to like version of it as possible, built.
Do you have any contacts that are like antique counterfeiters?
That's possible.
Well, if you just stroll into the nearest jeweler you come across, the person there introduces themselves as Mr. Simon, and when you show him the locket, he says he could repair it, meaning he could attach the chain and reset the hinge by tomorrow, although it will still look like it's taken a beating. If you wanted it to be refurbished with the same materials, it might take a week. I don't know if I'll be able to keep it all. And if you're just looking for a new locket in this style, it would take longer than that. I do have a bit of a workload.
Well, let's have you repair it for right now. And when I see what it's like repaired, then we'll make that determination. All right, if I'm saying that one right. Basically, second option.
Oh, okay. Where he's going to try to get some of the dents and stuff out of it.
Don't replace any material if you can help it.
I'll contact you first if I feel like that's necessary. And he gets out a slip of paper and he writes a receipt for you to keep on you so you know,
okay.
Or he knows who it belongs to. And he says, do you have a contact or a place I can telegram you when it's ready?
I will give him. So I'm going to give him two. I'll give him the. Damn it, I can't remember what the name of that one is. The Society of the Unexplained.
Where you have the Hermetic Order.
Is it the Society of the
SEU?
Yeah, SEU. And then also I'll give him Lance Monroe's information, like to his workshop.
Curioso.
Yeah,
okay.
Or Curioso.
He says, all right, as soon as I have it, or if I decide that I'm gonna have to add some new material to it, I'll get in touch with you. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you.
By the way, Brandon, your pipe and tobacco was $10. That might be absorbed by your daily spending limit.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Back on the street, Mr. Whitmire. What's your next move?
So, I'd like to see. Actually, I'm gonna go try and find Monroe. So I'll go over to his house and then I'll go over to his Curioso.
Okay. Yeah, he's not at either of those places. I mean, you did know that he left for Arkham this morning, so you're not sure when he'll be expected back.
Okay.
I'm saying he was looking for Monroe is just a cover. He's looking to steal.
Just looking for stuff.
So, how hard would it be to well, I guess it shouldn't be too difficult. Because I want to go check out this the lawyer that signed that check.
Oh, right. Frank Bellenkamp.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there are public records. You could pull like his license to practice law, that sort of stuff, or you could do some newspaper searches.
So I'll do try to look through newspaper, as I want to see how often he's associated with Francis Walsh.
All right. So Boston Public Library is the place to be if you want old copies of articles. So go ahead and give me a use library roll. Hard success. Congratulations. So you find the report itself doesn't really have much information. Only it just mentions Frank Bellenkamp as representing, somebody who's in some trouble, but he belongs to a law firm he's a partner at a law firm called Busk and Realm. Further digging reveals that he has represented, as you go through all these articles of the past, a rogues gallery of bootleggers and criminals. So here you see he's had clients such as Francis Sweetheart Walsh, your old boss Patrick Malone, Capper Joyce, Quinn Doyle, Sweeney Byrne, and others. Some of those names are familiar to you. In fact, Quinn Doyle and Sweeney Byrne, you know, were the guys that accosted Dr. Andrews on the trolley.
Okay.
So it seems like in his particular case, he represents the criminal element exclusively, almost.
I'd like to also do a search for Peter Fallon. That was the partner that had gotten paid off, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can track him down. Maybe through this lawyer. We'll see if I need to go that way.
Okay, let's get another use library roll from you. Another hard success. Very nice.
Dang.
Sorry, I didn't even realize that was a new one.
Yeah, it's I was figuring that I would fail on this one, but
I'm worried for you now.
Yeah,
John.
I know. The next one that I roll probably needs to be just an inconsequential skill.
So there's not much in the way of Peter Fallon, at least not like pointing to his corruption or anything, but there is a note that 5 years ago his partner was killed in action by the criminal element of Charlestown, Boston, and they had no known suspects to pursue. But that's all you get on him.
All right. Can I do a luck to see if I have any contacts in the Boston PD, other outside of Wayne Nichols and Logan Terry for whatever he's worth?
No, let's not do luck. Law's an obvious one, but I'm trying to think because you've probably run into tons of policemen in your line of work. Let me take a look at your skills. Yeah, no, nothing's really jumping out that would give you the connection, but I suppose we could depend on fast talk, but we'll make it a hard because that usually leaves the police you interact with out in the cold. So you can do law or your hard fast talk.
Here comes 100.
And those are your options. And of course, you do have a contact in the way of Logan Terry. He was trying to work with you.
Oh,
yeah, I'll use 2 luck to get that.
Okay.
That said, I still stand by that you should always push.
Pushing is more fun. All right, so yeah, he's a beat cop. A police officer by the name of Bryant Matthews. And I assume since you used to work for Patrick Malone, your old stomping grounds were in the South Boston part. So that would be the precinct he works in. Of course, it has been a couple years since you talked to him.
You said that was Patrick Matthews?
Bryant Matthews. Can't get too many Patricks in here, even though it is Boston, and there probably would be a lot of Patricks.
Okay.
So it's like this.
All right, so I will see if I can get a hold of Bryant Matthews.
Or you got to try to telegram him or ring the police station.
I'll
or walk
send.
down there.
Right.
I'm gonna go. Well, it's probably a bad idea. I'm gonna go and walk through the old neighborhood and see if I can see him.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a luck roll as you're walking around.
Oh, dude.
Everything's turning up extreme for you.
Man.
Yeah.
This is going to be so bad when it goes sideways.
'Cause I had
Well,
that
as he was
set
beat
to
cop,
hard
he-
too, so
Oh, okay. You knew the neighborhood that he policed, so that was a likely first place to look. So you see him out there swinging his old
Billy Club.
billy club while he's looking around. South Boston is a little bit more working class than, the principal part of Boston. So he's kind of eyeing everything suspiciously, but seems to be that he's keeping everything well ordered today. But he's not aware of you yet.
all right. Yeah, I'll stroll up to him and hey, Officer Matthews, how you been?
Jimmy? Is that you?
Yeah. I was wondering if I could, buy you a hot dog over here.
You running from anybody?
Well, you know me. Always running from somebody.
You just keep looking over your shoulder.
Well, last time I was out here, things got a little bit dicey with old Malone there. And you never know when him and his boys are going to pop up.
Yeah, he could be around any corner right now. But yeah, I'll take a hot dog.
All right. So, basically what I'm trying to get at here is see if he knows or has heard of anything happening with Detective Fallon or anybody that might that he could point me in the direction of.
So he doesn't know Fallon very well, but the policemen have like a union, and so they all sort of congregate. Excuse me. They have like this place in a basement that has its private bar for police. Well, used to be a bar, probably still is a bar. And, they have like billiards tables and what have you. And so he associates with a lot of different police from different precincts. So he says, yeah, Peter Fallon, he's in a different precinct. And plus he's detective, so he's not going to give me the time of day unless, he needs to talk to me in the course of his investigation. But I know what the rest of us know. He's about as straight as cops get in Boston, about as straight as me, dealing with a guy like you. But his partner got killed. A lot of people think it was Francis Walsh that killed his partner. I know Logan Terry's got it out for Francis Walsh because of that. Why? You think he had something to do with it?
Maybe. But, I happened to come by a check that was signed by an attorney that represents Walsh, signed over to Fallon. So I don't know exactly what he's getting himself into there, but sure would like to talk to him.
Hey, you know what, Jimmy? It's been a pleasure talking with you. I'm going to leave, though. I remember why I don't hang around you too much. You have a good day. And he starts to get up and walk away from you once you start. Once you lay that out.
I think I've got a starting point. So I want to go and find that bar and not go in, but hang around outside for a while. As this will kind of be kind of an off and on thing. Is see if I can either that or pay a kid to watch the bar for someone that fits the description of Fallon with instructions on where to find me.
Which did you prefer?
I'll watch it for a little bit, as you never know when the old luck will kick in. But after a few hours, I'll probably find a kid if I don't see anything interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll remind you, you still have an alliance with the Great Knights.
Oh, that's right.
The three kids you met.
All right. That's a good idea. How far away is that bar from that park or that church?
So the bar, if you go to that, it takes you back to downtown Boston. So it's not far from it at all. I think if you Let me pull that map up for you guys so you can measure out distances and stuff. So yeah, that portion of Boston is a couple thousand yards across, so it's pretty crammed in there, but also pretty close together, relatively speaking. But yeah, we'll let you hang there doing your reconnaissance, and we'll jump over to Mr. Monroe.
Okay.
Mr. Monroe, with I think the last I got from you was you had taken Walter Corbett's journals.
Yep.
And you were heading to a boarding house.
Yep. And then I believe we went through what was in the journal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll refresh you there 1 sec.
Yeah. And then, after the journal, I was just going to go to sleep.
Yeah, so Zamansky's boarding house is where Johann Muller pointed out to you. That's a old Polish woman owns it, and turns out she has a room on the second floor open that you can rent either at the month or night rate. It's $3 a night, though.
I'll be doing it at the night. I don't expect to be here more than one.
Yeah, and she very brusquely goes through when the meal times are. That's part of the boarding house, as they have communal meals. So you come down with the other people. So you've missed dinner. The next meal will be in the morning for breakfast. But so with Walter Corbett's notes, you had gone through it. But, new experiences bring new meaning to old texts, and of interest you to a burgeoning cult leader such as yourself, you found those esoteric powers he described most fascinating. So to list those briefly, that was the initial right to contact the Dark Man, or our Lord Granter of Secrets, evocant venator. You can give me a Latin roll on that, actually. You could have last time, too. I just missed it.
I don't remember if I did or not.
So with that regular success, that roughly translates to call the hunter.
Okay.
And that was what he called it the Dark Hunter.
Yep.
And on that note, there's an entry here that I'll show to you. So this is from September the 6th, 1854, from Walter Corbett's journals. They are hunters that move across vast distances as we on earth might walk across the room. Perhaps they move across different phases of reality, or even all of time is laid out before them that they may travel to different points. I confess I do not know. They are alien and loathsome, and I have a sense of biding as though they know all that is and all that shall ever be. In their insect-like gaze I see my ultimate end reflected at me. Also I understand what the beetle might feel, whence they fall under the gaze of man, who may step over or crush with only seconds of regard, if that, for its existence. It is because of this that I am loath to summon them, although I have no doubt they could be of use. I have done so twice now. The first in the spring, in which I struggled in some ineffable way with the hunter, while a wind blew from the north carrying the smell of blooming lilac. The second was the following winter, in the basement, where only cold and earth fills the nose, and yet, when the hunter bowed its rugose head beneath the tear in the world, I did there smell the spring lilacs again.
Okay.
There's also the Egyptian funerary rite of Neferin-Ka.
Now, I seem to remember when we were going over that last time that he had mentioned that even though it was thought to have come from Neferin-Ka, that there was something that wasn't from Neferin-Ka that was involved as well.
Yeah, he had that rigor vitae.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Where it could protect him. Or it was supposed to stop the aging of the flesh, but he also saw a use in protecting himself from harm. There was also Obey Thy Master's Will, in which he turned Michael Thomas to his cause. But of those abilities, only the Dark Hunter or Evocant Venator are described, listed in a way you could learn.
Okay.
But yeah, you can see, once you get into the actual spell part of summoning this Dark Hunter, it's very confusing, and it would take a significant amount of time to study it to see if it actually worked. Okay. We're talking about in terms of weeks.
I'm more curious about the Lord Granter of Secret.
Yeah, you think in the context he wrote those, they all came from a tome called Liber Ivanus.
Liber Ivanus.
Now, you are, being a Miskatonic alumni, there has always been a long rumor of the Miskatonic Library's restricted collection Currently, the director of the library is Dr. Henry Armitage, Professor Muller's arch nemesis. So are you just going to finish out the night? You still have time. The library, I believe, stays open until 8 p.m. You guys probably rolled out of your dinner by 6:30.
Yeah, it was probably an actual dinner and not a supper.
Yeah.
I suppose I could go by. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, I guess going through his journal would take some time, wouldn't it?
That's true. If you were going to find tooth comb through it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can also count this as a day in learning the Evocant Venator spell.
Yeah.
Against the several weeks required.
Yeah, we'll count that, and I'll just consider that I'd like really been diving into his journal. I'd already planned on going to the library tomorrow anyway.
Okay, let me add that to your character sheet real quick.
What was that other spell? The something vitae?
I'll spell it out for you. It's also Latin. It's a rough translation of stiffness of life, although that's more of just a direct translation. Okay, so we'll leave you there and we'll bounce over to Mr. Muller. So you do have the De Vermis Mysteriis.
And that I do, yes.
And it's always a...
ever-present burden that lingers at the edge of my mind. Yes.
So are you going to peruse it a little more tonight?
Oh, probably. As I fear sleep, I will probably have to find some way to fill the hours.
Yeah, that's true. So this has an autobiographical element to it. The De Vermis Mysteriis. It tells a little bit. You are pleased to find it speaks a little bit about Eibon, which you have learned is from the Liber Ivanus. And it's a brief version of it, though, but it is wholly absorbing and fantastical. Eibon is said to have been a denizen of Hyperborea, which you know is a mythical land to the north from Greek mythology. That's just from your basic classical education. It's said he was the son of a king, and his family were worshippers of Sadoque, or Zagua. But were exterminated by priests of a rival goddess. Eibon was spared when the warlock Xylac spirited him out of the city, and so began his apprenticeship. So there's a new entry from Chapter 1 in your De Vermis Mysteriis handout.
Mm-hmm.
So that chapter's title is Concerning Ascension, and so from Chapter 1, this little tale sticks out to you. And the context is, this is when Eibon climbed the mountain to where Sadoque or Zagua was his domain and sought to supplicate himself. So the servitor walked to where mighty Sadoque slept. The toad-like being moved not at all, although its eyes glimmered beneath heavy lids, and there was a sensation of watching. Next to the dais, the basins containing the Old One's formless guards roiled at the servitor's approach. Strands of midnight liquid seemed to reach out from the basins and stroke at the man's passage, stopping short of touching him. The servitor began chanting words said to please mighty Sadoque, somnum manducare procreare. It was all for naught in the end, as with quickness as absolute as its stillness, Sadoque snatched the man into his mouth and ate him. The hollow snapping of bones rang in the chamber. I waited for the smacking of giant lips to end, and then made my own approach. I bowed my head and said the words, somnum manducare procreare. I pushed the street urchin before me, my sacrifice to the might of Sadoque. Sadoque ate, and I received my blessing. I'll allow you a new Latin roll on those terms.
No. Okay. Let's see if John sapped all the luck out of this room. He did.
Well, they're pretty basic. You know, somnum is probably sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you as the player could puzzle out what the other two are.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think?
Manducare, procreare. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so that can stand in for Professor Muller's understanding of it. However, you are making a good... When it comes to these Mythos tomes, all I needed was the one roll, which you got a while back, so you're able to go through it fairly freely. But that's all that pops out tonight.
Okay. Now, what time do I finish? Is it like the morning?
Not quite. You've kind of gotten to that point where it's your mind wanders, maybe to the description on the transfer of the mind. You're thinking of the possibilities, but anything that distracts you is pulling you away. You could try to force yourself past that phobia of sleeping if you want, but on the first night, it would you'd have to succeed at an extreme power roll
To sleep?
to sleep.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it right now. We'll wait till those penalties start stacking up.
Okay.
But yeah, like I think I'll start packing for the trip back south, I believe.
To Boston.
Yeah. And part of that is at some point I'll push the chair away from my desk where I prefer to sit,
Okay.
and I will remove one of the floorboards and pull out a fairly cheaply made dagger that I hid there about a year ago.
All right. And are you planning to travel with your book as well?
As well as Corbett's dagger, yes.
Okay.
And I'll petition Corbett, not that he'll answer particularly, but I'll at some point say like, Walter Corbett, Herr Corbett, if you hear me and you are able to understand me, we are both coming up on a precipice, a predicament, and I believe that we can be helpful to each other. I do not seek to destroy you, and please do not seek to destroy me, and perhaps together we can find some way to escape our potential fates.
Yeah, you don't get a response of any kind, although as the sun begins to come up in the morning, you have just been getting this sense of not being alone. You know, like the place feels more occupied than it normally does. But he doesn't say anything, at least during the night. So we'll leave you there with your packing, and we'll jump back over to Dr. Andrews. So you still have some time left before you need to stick a pin in the day, fork in it, call it done. I'll remind you, you do have like a couple of optional things you do. You were working your way through an occult tome. If you finish it, I think yours needed 2 or 3 weeks. And all I require for that is that if you get home at a reasonable time, then those hours before sleep, that reading counts as a day of study.
Okay.
So that was held at the Order Library. That was the Bremelin configuration. Was that? No, that's the. It was a. What was it called? The Book of a Bremelin.
Yeah. Abramelin or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, you could continue your investigation.
Yeah. So I'll just ask this Clayton one last question. If he knew Mr. Dooley, Robert Dooley, who owned, I forgot the name because it was long. It was like Dooley's.
That was just a joke. It was just Dooley's Fine Tobacco,
Tobacco.
I believe. He says, no, I've not heard of the man.
Well, if one last question then. If I came in to your shop to order tobacco and needed to order something special from Brichester,
Brichester, I think is the pronunciation.
What would you think I was ordering as it relates to tobacco?
Well, nothing specific comes off the top of my head. I would just think you were ordering some English tobacco that I don't have in stock.
And since it is English tobacco, then it would have Latakia in it.
Most assuredly.
Right, I see. Okay. Well, thank you very much. You've been excellent help to me, and thank you for the pipe and the tobacco. And have a good day, sir.
You as well.
All right. So, yeah, at that point, then I'll get back home and start reading. And when I meet up with my companions next, I'll have to dig more into Customer X with the wrong shadow.
So, as you're reading through there, give me an occult roll.
All right.
Or it can be hard education.
Okay. It's going to be a better chance for me.
Not quite. Well,
Can you luck a book reading?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll spend luck to get that.
10 luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets you a little bit further through that. So that puts you at 2 of 21 days.
Okay.
And you also see as you're going through this that the author, this Abraham of Worms, is obsessed with a thing he calls a Sator square or a Rhotus square. So I'll just post a little bit about that in there for you. So yeah, you know from your education that the Satar square or Rhodes square is a two-dimensional word square containing a 5-word Latin palindrome. It features in early Christian as well as in magical contexts. The earliest examples of the square dates from the ruins of Pompeii, which some scholars attribute to pre-Christian origins, such as Jewish or Mithraic. So yeah, it's this weird... in the modern context, it's taken on more of an occult meaning. This is something actually you went over in recent courses at the university this past, where are we at? Fall. Spring.
Okay.
Spring, there we go. So yeah, you can see on the cover of that book, that's an example of it.
Oh, I'm not seeing.
Now let me show it to you.
There. Okay.
So yeah, you see, basically it's a word that no matter which way you put it, it's a palindrome, right? Like no matter which way you read it, it does it top to bottom, left to right, that sort of thing. I don't think it does it diagonally. It doesn't look like it does it. But that's how those work. And you know from your Catholic times that there's a form of Orthodox Christianity where they do one with the cross. They put certain terms in there important to Christianity.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of that again?
Sator or Rhodes. And in this Orthodox Christianity, the terms Sator, Arepo, Tenant, Opera, Rhodes, they say it was the names of each of the nails driven into Jesus.
Oh, I
but
see.
they don't really, you didn't get into it deep enough to elaborate on why they were named what those terms. But you know those are all Latin terms. What's your Latin? Yours is pretty high, right?
Yeah, I think it's 51.
So
50.
So even without a roll, you know, in the case of, say, the word Sator, it could mean sower, planter, founder, progenitor, originator, or seeder, that sort of stuff. So each one of those words would have its own Latin meaning. But yeah, this particular writer is just obsessed with them, and you see him everywhere. When he starts to detail the powers that he learned from his visit from an angel, right? Because it has its roots in Christianity. The ways in learning them are all in unlocking these Satar squares, right? And he talks about like this 11-month process that you have to go through to truly unlock power.
I see.
But that's what you get for tonight. All right, Mr. Whitmire, you've been watching this police station for a while. And who are you hoping to catch going in here? Detective Fallon? You know, at least the day before last, he was said to be out Salem way pursuing leads on a separate case. This information was given to you by Detective Nichols.
I'm sorry, he was where on a separate case?
In Salem.
Oh.
It's about halfway between Boston and Arkham.
Okay, as I had forgotten about that.
Actually, give me a stealth roll. Dang.
He can't keep getting away with this.
Sorry, everybody.
Another extreme success. Yeah, so you see, the round, somewhat angry face of Logan Terry go down into this bar at some point, but you're able to duck behind a newspaper stand, and then he goes down into this basement. So do you want to hang here or see if you can get some kids to watch it for a little while? And it also is growing late in the day.
I think I'll leave it for right now. If I remembered that he was out of town on another case, then I don't think there's going to be much good hanging around here, other than me eventually getting found out.
All right, so what's your next move?
I would like to try and find the that retired officer. Can you share that board again?
Yeah. Are you talking about James Barrister?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, so you know...
Does he really have anything to do with this other than that he raided the church?
Well, while you're thinking about that, you do know that police report that Monroe had possession of by way of Rupert Merriweather was heavily redacted, and that was names of people that belong to the church. So if you're interested in following that line of inquiry, then that would be a guy to talk to.
Okay.
I mean, you do know that Warren Eddy said others had been, besides him and Walter Corbett, had been buried in the same fashion. So that might illuminate who those people were. He does live outside of Boston. It would be pretty late, like dark late, by the time you get there. Did you want to leave it for the morning or pursue it anyways?
Yeah, we'll leave it for the morning.
Okay.
'Cause
And
I'll make my way over to the SEU and then that Curioso, see if there were any telegrams that were left.
so the SEU meets at Miskatonic Library in Arkham. So that's in a different city, but you can definitely go to Monroe's Curioso.
And was it there that I sent the telegram saying that I had found Dr. Muller,
I'm not a doctor.
or Herr Muller, and that he was unharmed
I don't know that you
Or
specified it. I think you
of
just
sound
said
body?
you would send it there or wherever you had arranged to. We can make it up now. Where do you want to be able to contact these guys?
Well, I think we had kind of made my Curioso kind of the central hub, because that's where Mueller sent the telegrams to us. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. So, yeah, when you check in there, there is actually by now a telegram from Mr. Monroe. Not a second telegram from Mr. Mueller. That one was done in a haze. He just wrote it in dirt in his garden. Anyhow, yeah, so there's what was in the telegram?
it was just stating that I had found Herr Mueller in Arkham and that he was physically okay.
Right. Yeah, so that's the only one you would expect there. You know that the lawyer, James Clark, was going to file discovery, and they would have a list of evidence or witnesses that would be called for the trial of Charlie Murphy. But he will likely get in touch with you by the order with that information, and that he probably doesn't have it yet. So that would be something to look into tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll go find a cheap hotel.
Okay. Yeah, that's no problem. Should be absorbed by your daily spending limit, and the sun sets, and it's almost a new day. We just got to get a power roll from Mr. Monroe when he goes to sleep.
Oh,
What would this new date be?
Would be the
all right.
14th,
Okay.
Power.
June 14th.
Ooh, a hard success.
Dang, you got always surprised by your power. So high.
This means one thing only. The unlucky one is going to be me.
Okay, so you have that dream, which you're rather surprised by because you had associated it with the toad statuette.
Yeah.
But now it's no longer in your possession. But here you are again, and you're having a lucid version of it, so you can move around. But it's the same starting spot. You're some 100 yards from this burial mound. What are you going to do?
Last time, Herr Mueller was in it with me, and we'd gone pretty deep into the mound. So I'm going to rush to try and get back to where we were. To that room with the big mural. And hopefully without, stopping to investigate all the different runes and the lichen and stuff like that, I can get there.
So you rush across this field towards the burial mound, down into the opening of the mound where you see a person in there, and you actually recognize them as the SEU secretary, Thaddeus Grunwald, and he's just standing there scratching his head, sort of looking around at all the smashed pottery. And there are other figurines in the style of Zagua, but they're more what you'd expect from Native American tribes. So, like a man smoking a pipe or that sort of thing.
Okay. But yeah, I'll be a little bit surprised to see Thaddeus there, but I'll bid that he follow me and head deeper.
Where are we?
I'll talk as we go.
We're running out of time.
I can guarantee that I will talk as I go.
But yeah, as we go, I'll tell him everything that we've learned about this place, that it's somewhere in Oklahoma, that it is an ancient site of religion for Native Americans, but that it dates back even farther than that. And, as we kind of rush through the areas that we've been,
I'm most likely leading you to certain death.
Yeah, he's this is very strange. I don't know why I dream of such a place or why you would be in it. I guess your clothes made the intended impression. But yeah, he's following behind you. You pass through what you think of as the entry hall where that ambient light picks up the stuff that's emitted by the lichen, Justin. Lichen.
Lichen.
Not lichen.
Okay. Did I say lichen?
No, I did.
Oh.
But you gave me a weird look, so it stuck in my head, and I'm like,
Oh,
what did I do wrong?
This slight dates all the way back to him correcting our conflagration. So we
So yeah, you see the beginnings of those bat-faced toad motifs in the walls. The Aklo scrawled there. You go deeper in where it becomes damp, and you have the stalactites and stalagmites, and
that slight dates back to Brandon.
and there you knew that Professor Muller was able to positively identify these carvings as far older than the understood age of mankind itself.
And, as we go, I'll say, yes, we know that. Just hold on to your hat. There's much more to discover.
And then you have what you describe as the Hall of History, we could call it, where it is that wide area with columns that maybe a procession could pass through, where you saw in tableau arrangement sort of the story of these serpent-like people as they were cast into the depths of the earth by early humans surrounding what looks to be like an ice age. But now you come to like a vertical descent where it's going to be tricky to navigate. The cavern floor is about 20 feet lower than the top of this part where it pitches down.
Okay.
Oh, I guess that's the end of the dream, Mr. Monroe.
No. We can still continue on. Remember, it is a dream.
All right.
And
I have my loafers on. I can't climb.
Grab him by the lapel and toss him down.
But yeah, I'll try and find a place where it looks like it's a little bit closer, or at least the ground below is flat enough and
Right.
level enough that
The hall narrowed to sort of a point where there was just this one pitch down, so you pretty much only have the 20-foot option.
okay.
You could try to jump down there, just like in D&D,
Yeah, I think I'll make that kind of awkward. You lay on your belly and you slide backwards, and then you kind of hang from the ledge. And
Okay.
someone that doesn't like falling or jumping, trying to minimize the distance.
And it always almost leads to more damage.
I know it's
yeah.
always worse, but Monroe being who he is, he's not gonna try and do a ninja roll after he jumps or anything like that.
Mr. Monroe, it still looks like it's quite a ways down. Are you sure that's the most advised course of action?
I'll say nope, and then I'm gonna kind of push off a little bit and fall.
Okay. So it's a risky undertaking. Now let's have a jump roll.
There is a jump.
Yes.
If you can't tell, then that.
I think it's one of the ones that starts a little higher. It might be 20 or 25.
24.
Okay, starts at 20.
Oh, mine might be.
Oh,
that's right. I jumped out of the way
Yeah.
at the church. Yeah, okay. Luck it.
Or push it.
I don't.
Pushing it might be worse.
No.
Well, at this stage, you're actually hanging by your fingers or whatever.
Yeah.
And
It'll be a climb
this
check
is
to
the one
get
where
back up.
you can get back up because you've thought better of the distance and you're going to take damage. So you can just push it by merely doing what you said, where you're going to release it and you get the other roll, but the damage could be worse.
I'm just going to take the damage because Monroe thinks that this is like, while he knows it's a lucid dream, he still considers it a dream. He doesn't like fully
wouldn't
believe
Doesn't
it.
understand.
Yeah, he thinks that even if he gets hurt in the dream, he'll be perfectly fine when he wakes up. So
What are your constitution and like dex scores and strength?
strength 30, dex 30, constitution 45.
Oh, I have more constitution than you do.
Yeah. No,
So you are familiar with your body in an academic sort of way.
Yeah.
You've never actually moved it except
yes,
for
exactly.
walking.
That's Monroe. Yeah.
I've
All right.
read vast amounts of text on the art of.
I should merely
should
bend
be
my
able-
knees as I impact on the surface.
Exactly. Yes.
So you take 2d6 damage.
oh,
You can roll it.
that could potentially kill me.
Don't worry, it's only a dream.
All right.
Let's see if John's luck sucking has.
2d6.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, that nearly killed me. I'm at 1 hit point left.
All right, make a constitution roll.
That would have killed me.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so echoing back to falling down a certain chimney in Peru, you impact with a snap, but much more pronounced. In fact, there's 2 of them. And then and you hear an exclamation from Mr. Grunwald, but then you wake up in your bed and it's morning. Your legs aren't broken, but you are very exhausted.
Okay. Am I still at 1 hit point?
No, your hit points are fine.
All right.
This is potentially worse for Monroe because now he does his theory about the dream world has been confirmed essentially.
Yeah, that I'm invincible there.
Yeah, well, it was so that initial sensation stayed with you for a good few minutes after you woke up,
Well,
to the point where you thought that it surely must have transferred from the dream world somehow.
yeah, it's probably like those moments where if you've ever like actually broken a bone and heard that snap, anytime you see it on like a movie or like the ones that used to always get me were when like athletes would have bones
Basketball
broken.
ones,
Yeah, you'd see it snap and like you could feel it all over again. So since he's broken his leg before, he's probably still feeling that same pain.
Yeah, there's been a couple that really got me. There was one of a basketball player that came down on it and it just drove the shin up past the knee.
Yeah, that one.
And then the other one was it Silva? Is that the guy's name? Where he was kicking a guy and his shin snapped in the middle because it had received a micro fracture.
Crazy.
And then he broke it completely and it just it looks like a cartoon because it just kind of wraps around the guy he's kicking.
Yeah.
And the guy doesn't know he just broke that. So then he tries to take him down to the mat and I mean, like you got sharp bone just getting tore up in there.
Yeah. So yeah, I probably wake up screaming.
Good thing you're not staying at the boarding house Johann did. You should really try the bedpost.
Just gnawing on it.
Yes, I recommend it highly.
But as you make your way down, maybe to catch breakfast or whatever, you'll still get like phantom pains But the predominant thing is you're just very tired, very exhausted, as though you got no sleep at all. Are you going to take your breakfast here?
Yeah, I might as well. While I try and shake off the dream, I'll probably keep it kind of light to just like either a cup of tea or coffee and something small.
Yeah, and there's some eggs and sausage prepared for everybody to help themselves. And for the most part, they're Polish immigrants here and they speak in their native tongue, although you do have a brief conversation with a doctor, or he claims to be a doctor. He says he was a doctor in Poland, but here I don't have the licenses. But it's all very light and whatnot, and we'll pop over to Mr. Muller as it is now fully morning. You are tired, but we're not quite at the stage where we're going to penalize you too much unless you got to do something that takes a lot of mental strength.
I like to picture this kind of opening on him, like lighting his pipe and just staring at the sun as it's coming up, and you feel that like sand in your eyes. Yeah. But yeah, that's how he'll greet the day, is smoking a bowl of his favorite tobacco.
So had you guys agreed upon a time you were going to try to leave Boston together? I can't remember if Monroe mentioned that he was going to stop by the library first.
Yeah, I probably would have mentioned that to him, that I did have some business at Arkham University. Mm-hmm. So probably meet him early afternoon.
All right. So yeah, I'll just kind of, I guess I'll study the book. I'll hang out here and then I'll sit out for the train station around noon.
Well, let's get you another day on there. Okay, so in your second day of study, you go on to learn that it gets into different strange powers that the book begins to describe in various chapters. So one thing that jumps out at you is a ritual, evidently, to commune with a deity called Yig, which rings a bell in your memory.
Is that the snake?
Yeah, the serpent people were supposed to have been the worshippers of Yig. In fact, it talks about how Yig created them somehow in the distant past.
So what does this ritual entail, or does that require going deeper than I want to?
Yeah, it would require some time to study it.
Okay.
This is just kind of giving you an overview of different powers described. There's also mention of a window that can be used to scry to other places. You know, it kind of sounds like your standard sort of scrying. Also on the creation of zombies, invoking demons. The term demon is used outside of the Christian context in a way.
Like more like a Like a spirit or just any otherworldly thing. Okay.
In some cases, it's referred to as a jinn. There's one ritual called Invoke Child of the Goat and Invoke Invisible Servant. And of course, the one you like, Mind Transfer. And there's also one called the Vorish sign. And this is a sign that sorcerers make with their hands, generally before attempting to cast some strange spell or commune with some deity from beyond.
Is it like to ward off evil type?
Yeah, that seems to be its use. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And that one's relatively simple, but you still see it would take some doing to get through it. So,
what are how bad do the frayed ends of my sanity scream out when I look at that one?
Vorish sign.
Yeah, the
ward.
Yeah,
I'd say almost all of these ones you're probably having physical reactions to as you read through them.
Oh, see, that's the problem. Is this might be more help. It
now,
might be worth the risk.
You do begin to see that there's a problem with the way all these rituals or spells are detailed. Is they start to have this rune-like writing universally to complete how it's done. So there's some other language that's being used here. It looks a bit like Druidic runes to you, but not quite. Those are called Oghem, by the way. It's a bit like that, but not exactly. You already failed your mythos roll to recognize this in your dream the last time. So it's Aklo, basically. And I think that will be good enough for now. And we'll jump over to Boston with Dr. Andrews' brand new day.
All right. So today I need to track down some things. I need to find Whitmire because I still think I need to get into that shop.
So as we have established, you guys are using the Curioso as a point of contact or a place to send messages, as most of you have agreed that the Hermetic Order is far too suspicious to be sending your messages there.
Right.
Because Logan Terry's a member. As far as what's coming up today, you are expecting to be contacted by James Clark at some point with that discovery and potentially setting up a meeting with the Honorable Hugh Holland, but that's more in Whitmire's concern. But yeah, you can go to the Curioso, try to give a message off to Mr. Whitmire.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Okay.
There.
What are you going to send him?
That I need him to go with me to check something out. I'm not going to be specific.
Okay. So I guess a good way to do it is, since you want to get it out there soon, you can send off the telegram first and then maybe catch breakfast in O'Lafferty's.
Yeah.
And say you'll be there. And it's like 30 minutes later, Mr. Whitmire, that you get a telegram at the hotel desk there.
Who's this from?
Dr. Andrews.
Okay.
He just says he needs your help with something.
All right. Does it say where he wants to meet up?
Oh, he said he would be eating breakfast at O'Lafferty's.
Okay. This is all pay for my room, and I guess they probably would have done that beforehand these days. I'll pay for the telegraph then, and head over to O'Lafferty's.
So just as you're finishing up your hash browns, Mr. Whitmire enters the restaurant.
Okay. Yeah, I'll wave him over. Thank you for coming. I need your help today to track down some things that I figured out yesterday. And then I'll tell him the story about the tobacco and what I learned about it. The Latakia, which is the word that Charlie wrote in that diary with gravy. Well, as it turns out, it's added to a lot of blends. Apparently, it changes the smell and the taste. But there has to be a reason why Charlie wrote that word for us. And then as I was looking through my notes, trying to determine, if there was something I was overlooking, I saw Charlie's customer note where he wrote down all the different customers and their orders. And then one entry in that was customer X with the wrong shadow who asked about the Dream Castle, ordered something special from Brychester in the UK. And now the guy that I talked to yesterday about that Latakia, he said that, almost all the English tobaccos have this Latakia. So I'm thinking if we go back to the shop, maybe we can find an order form or a document or something to help us determine who this customer X was and what he ordered from the UK and what's wrong with this shadow and what's the dream castle. Have you ever heard of that before?
I haven't heard of the Dream Castle, but I met somebody before I showed up at the church. It was, went by the name of Mr. Blackman, and he wanted me to retrieve the locket from Orrin B. Eddy, the locket that we smashed, and his shadow was wrong as well, as I actually have somebody working to try and restore that locket so that I can hopefully take it to him and then find out where he's going and who he's dealing with. But I would also be happy to help you.
So the man that has a wrong shadow, he wants you to fix this locket?
No, he wanted me to retrieve the locket. I'm assuming undamaged. That's why I'm trying to get it repaired.
But we've already destroyed it.
But we've already destroyed it. So,
well, who is this man?
I don't know. He offered me a sum of money to retrieve the locket, and I would assume that he has something to do with the Church of Contemplation, or at least whatever they were doing.
Well, what do you mean when you say his shadow is bad? What is that about?
How would I describe that, Travis?
It had a serpent-like quality to it. You know, it had a triangular-shaped head that evoked the image of, say, like a cobra's head when the hoods flared out.
Okay.
But it was humanoid in shape. It had arms and legs. The arms were longer than a human's arms, where they draped almost down to the base of the shadow.
So physically, he looked like a man, but his shadow looked like a serpent, a snake.
And you've agreed to work for him?
Hey, it was a sum of money.
Well, I was sitting in the office of a hotel room trying to check in, and he came in and knew me. So there wasn't really many options other than saying yes, I felt to get out of there. But
that said, Monroe has worked for worse things than a snake.
Yeah, I mean, when you deal with some of the people I deal with, I mean, weird shadows, offing entire families,
giant squirming warden gods,
drowned in your children right in front of you.
Dr. Andrews, you remember nervous-looking Whitmire creeping around a camp at night with a fat worm in a jar.
Yeah.
Strange fella.
In fact, it was so odd for Andrews that he had to call out.
Hey, what's that there? That Whitmire, you grabbed that whole milk crate of the last order, or the order that had come in last from Mr. Dooley's, and it's in the trunk of your car.
Yeah. So I'll let Dr. Andrews know that too, is that we don't have to go back to the shop unless you want to, but I've got the last order from there in the trunk.
Well, let's go look at it then.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so at Mr. Whitmire's car, you pop the trunk open, and there's that milk crate, and you see cartons of cigarettes and tins of tobacco and cigars. And there you see the Dream Castle tin. Show it to you guys.
Is all.
We should immediately get this.
Is there only one of those?
Since he is our sanity
Yes, there's only one.
Why am I a sanity sink?
Because you're already gone.
So I just saw some red letters.
It didn't pop up for you. I'll check. I'll put it out there again. Anybody else getting it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, got it.
Yep.
Okay.
It should be in the two most of the way down.
Well, sometimes Roll 20
is a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see it's still sealed. It's brand new. Only a few scuffs from shipping across the Atlantic.
I see. So is there any other writing on it, like made in wherever?
Nope, there's nothing else to
A
identify
tax stamp or anything?
where it came from.
Okay. And anything in this that would reveal who that had been ordered for? Is there like a manifest or anything?
No, it doesn't have who the customer went to. The order form is just like ones we get these days, although not printed necessarily. They're just a quantity and list of items delivered.
Okay.
Because they came from a wholesaler. Dooley was the retailer, so he has the customer relationship. But you do know it came from Breechester because it's in Charlie Murphy's customer notes.
Right. Okay.
What do you think?
I think Charlie was trying to hint to us that whoever ordered this has some answers for us or is responsible. So we need to know who ordered it. The problem is the only thing the note says is customer X, wrong shadow, asked about Dream Castle, and then put in a special order from Breechester, UK. So obviously Charlie noticed his shadow. So could it be a coincidence that you also have been dealing with someone with a weird shadow?
I mean, they do happen from time to time. Because I don't think that it was a coincidence that he was in the shop, though, with the church being so close by. And even Mr. Dooley's note or journal that had him dealing with the Corbett house and the church. It's all got to be tied up together.
All right. So how should we proceed from here?
Well, I've got about a week until that locket is locket is supposed to be done. At that point, I was going to contact Mr. Blackman, and give him the locket, and I had hoped to try and trail him back to wherever he was going. If you want, I could use a hand with that when it comes up, but I think it would look pretty weird if we just assumed this was his and gave it to him. And
what, the tobacco? Yeah. No, I don't think we should give it to him. I think that would tip him off.
I don't assume that this would be anything illegal, being able, or seeing as how they're just able to order it.
Yeah, I don't think it's important anymore as long as this customer X is the same guy you've been dealing with. I think that was the point. I think that was Charlie was trying to give us a hint to who is responsible. So now we just need to decide, how do we determine if he was responsible? We can't go to the police and say, we think this man did it, and look at his shadow. It looks like a snake. That won't be beneficial for us. We'll end up roommates with Charlie out at Roxbury. Yeah, maybe we should tell Monroe and see what he thinks about this.
I had some plans to go outside of Boston to that retired officer, James Barrister. See if I could have him shed some light on what this the redacted information in his police report was. Since he maybe it ties to that church and to this person.
Right. And what was I waiting for today, Travis?
Well, I guess you have a couple of things. You're waiting for the discovery from James Clark on evidence and witnesses they plan to call. You're also had that friend of yours analyzing the strange hair. And wasn't there... Oh, you wanted to ask about that strange geometric drawing that Charlie Murphy had done.
Yeah. Well, I think it can wait. So if I can go with you if you want.
Yeah, I would appreciate the company. It's hit and miss how well I get along with police, even former police. So.
Right. Okay.
Is it really ever a hit?
Well.
Or is it just a miss and a miss?
Well, his earlier encounter went fine.
They didn't try and blackmail me or arrest me, so, that's a win-win.
He's just saying, keep your Roscoe ready, Andrews.
Yeah.
Gumshoe like you should be ready to start blasting.
All right, so as you guys prepare to head out there, we'll see what Monroe's doing now that he's left breakfast at the boarding house and on his way to the library, I presume?
Yep. Now, I'd been given a contact like 8 game sessions ago.
Okay.
That I'm trying to find. His name is Professor Dr. Armitage of the University of Miskatonic University.
Yeah, he's the director of the Orn Library there. And so as you approach the Miskatonic Library, or the Orn Library, as it's sometimes called, it's a pretty large Gothic in architecture building. Also of note is a large Mastiff just chained up near the front doors. And
thing that just struck me, I'm curious. The Orn Library, is it named after Orn B. Eddy?
No, I don't think so. That's just...
Oh, too bad. That would have been a great little tie-in.
Nope. Just a coincidence. The Mastiff seems like a friendly enough dog as you approach, and it's not even given enough leash to really come at people, as the library is open to the public.
Apparently. That's what they say.
Unless you're Johann Muller. Yes, but you go inside, and there are a few students there working quietly, and you can see a police officer is there asking a few questions of a harried-looking man. He doesn't look... He's not the guy you know, Dr. Henry Armitage. You're unfamiliar with this person. You also see a sleepy-looking Mr... I forgot his name now. Grunwald. There we go. You see a sleepy-looking Mr. Grunwald. He's got a bunch of papers underneath his arm.
Okay.
Heading to the private reading room, which is where the SEU normally meets.
Okay. Was he the one that I saw last night?
Yeah.
All right. I will, stop him when I see him and say, good sir, good sir.
Yeah, he takes in your clothes and he looks shocked. Mr. Monroe.
Yes.
What are you doing here?
Well, I imagine probably much the same thing you are, doing research and, on an investigation that I'm working on.
Yes, of course. Sorry, it's just a bit of luck. You were in one of my dreams last night.
I know. I remember you from last night as well, and the journey that we went on. I'm sorry that I seem to have rather acutely departed the dream, so I wasn't able to continue on deeper with you. Did you happen to notice anything after I fell and broke my legs?
As you can see, my hypothesis was sound.
See, yeah, I'm not even gonna consider the fact that he didn't think of it as real. So
he's like, this. I just called to you to see if you were okay, but then the dream ended for me shortly after. This is most unusual, and he goes to try to get like a notepad or something, and all of his papers scatter out everywhere. And he's like, "Oh dear me!" And he's like, "This is something we should talk about at the SEU meeting. I've heard about shared dream states, but to have confirmation of one is something else."
Yes, it's not the first time that it's happened to me. I had one not too long ago in the same location, actually. And I must ask, what is it that you're researching?
Unfortunately, I'm just doing my coursework.
Have you happened to have run across anything having to do with a deity called Zagua?
Zagua? Can't say I have. What is that, Greek?
No. We're not quite sure exactly where its point of origin is, but it seems to have become related to the dreams and the location that we found ourselves in last night. No
deities. Just we had the attack yesterday morning, and
wait, the attack?
Yes, at the library. A vagrant, I guess, attacked early in the morning, before we were fully open. In fact.
Oh dear. Is everyone okay?
Everyone is well, except for Miss Pearson. She suffered some attack. A portion of her scalp was cut and hair removed, and I'm afraid she's in quite a state.
How horrific. But physically she'll recover, correct?
I think so.
Okay. Well, thank goodness for small blessings like that.
But yes, anyhow, they're going through, we have to go through and catalog everything and make sure everything is in its place. Apparently a book from the restricted collection was taken.
That might complicate what I'm attempting to do. I came to speak with Dr. Armitage about some papers that he has that I would like to look at.
Well, as far as I know, he is in London on a conference, but the assistant director's here, Wilfred. He's just right over there, and he points to the harried-looking man who's speaking with the police officer.
Okay. He appears to be busy. Is there perhaps one of his associates that I might be able to speak to about some of the research material that I require.
Well,
Or perhaps you could help me yourself.
Sure, what are we looking for? If it's in the restricted collection, though, I'm afraid you will have to talk to Wilfred.
Well, what I'm seeking may or may not be in the restricted section. Have you come across anything in regards to the Church of Contemplation? Or, I'm drawing a blank on it. Something of the Starry Eye.
The Cult of the Starry
Cult of the
Wisdom.
Starry Eye. Cult of Starry Wisdom, yeah.
No, I gotta say, most of my work is compiling and annotating the notes that USEU members bring back. I can't say I've come across anything like that, but we can look at what's held in the collection, the titles of the books, maybe something like will trigger your memory, or
Yes.
Okay, so he takes you over to the reference, where all the reference cards are, and you can see the restricted collection has its own section, and then it's just simply a list of titles. So you have the Unassprechlichen Kulten, the Book of Ibon, the Narcotic Manuscripts, the Liber Ivanus, Cult des Ghouls. There used to be De Vermis Mysteriis there. Not anymore.
Where could it have gone?
An investigation into the myth patterns of latter-day primitives with a special reference to the Rillier text. That's the title. The Panoply Scriptures and the Necronomicon.
Bound in human flesh, baked in blood.
Well, the two that like immediately stand out in my mind are one, the Narcotic Manuscripts, which the person at the Order of Starry,
John Scott,
had asked me to see if I could acquire.
Right.
And then of course the Liber Ivanus. So I'll speak to. I'll say, and I don't suppose that there's any way that we can perhaps take a look at these without going through the director.
You'll have to go through the director.
He is a tyrant.
The assistant director in this case. But as you guys are discussing, you hear somebody clear their throat behind you.
Sic simple tyrannus.
Okay, I'll turn around.
So you see an aging man there. What did you study? Is this where you studied, like, in the field?
Yeah, archaeology mostly and early American.
So you actually were in one of his classes. It's Professor Ronald Galloway. He's an expert in cryptography and Egyptology. So he taught some of your classes back when you attended university here.
Okay.
And he's like, Mr. Monroe, good to see you.
Good doctor. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I had the opportunity to visit your museum.
Oh, very good, very good. I was actually just about to tell you about it and let you know that, I had taken some of the teachings that you'd given me and put them to good use in gathering artifacts from around.
He actually gives you a couple flyers back, and he's like, I really only need one.
So keep the rest. You can hand them out to anyone that may have interest. I would appreciate it greatly.
Your affluent friends, perhaps?
Yes, people with money that like to donate.
Bit of the superstitious.
Well, I missed you when I was there. I guess you were attending to other business, but I was quite taken with your Peruvian artifacts.
Yes, that was not only a thrilling expedition, but eye-opening as well as to the nature of early man.
And there was one thing. It wasn't an artifact. It was a sketch. I think you were the artist. Middling ability, yes. I must say. But there was something in the sketch that happened to cross paths with what I have been looking into. Are you familiar with an Egyptian artifact called the Shining Trapezahedron?
Am I?
Can't remember. What did you? No, you're not.
Yeah, I don't think I was.
Oh wait, no. It was in Oren Bietti's journal.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll say, actually, by some circumstance, I actually came across a reference to that very object.
Well, I was just noticing that in your sketch, that was a bas relief you saw in the pyramid itself. Is that, do I understand its origin?
Yes.
And the priests, for lack of a better word, were carrying this polyhedron-like shape.
That's what it appeared, yes.
Well, the way you drew it reminded me of this shining trapezahedron I've been looking into. Here, you can read the reference material on it if you'd like.
So, yeah, I'll happily take the whatever information he has. And what was his name again so I can...
Dr. Ronald Galloway.
Okay.
So this is just a one-page reference on the shining trapezahedron itself. So it says, the shining trapezahedron is a strange bauble, a smallish gem-like stone, closely resembling crystal. It is almost completely black, but has some crimson striations. It has the curious illusion of shining with an inner light. The stone is a polyhedron with many irregular flat surfaces. It is roughly 4 inches thick and is usually found in a peculiar yellow metal box with a hinged lid. The box is decorated with unknown dot-formed hieroglyphs. The shining trapezahedron is impossibly old, a gift from the Black Pharaoh of Egypt. It is said that the old ones possessed the artifact and mounted it in its yellow metal box. It was salvaged from the ruins of one of their cities by the Serpent People, who took it back to Volusia. Then it was sighted over the years in various ancient lands, including Lemuria, where it was first gazed upon by humans, Volusia, and Atlantis. After Atlantis sank beneath the waves, the stone dropped out of sight for a while until it was dredged up by Minoan fishermen. It was sold to merchants from Kem and later fell into the hands of the 3rd Dynasty Black Pharaoh Nephron-Ka. After years of use, he buried it along with an enchanted mirror in a sealed crypt. Both were found by the evil queen Nitocris shortly after she adopted the child of the masked messenger in the White Desert. After her fall from power, the shining trapezahedron disappeared again and has never surfaced since.
The insinuations of things in that one paragraph are mind-boggling.
Sand check.
Like, is the mirror that's mentioned the one that we ran into? Is, and the fact that, well, okay, so I'll mention, like, after reading through that while we were in Peru, we came across a relief in a stone that sounds very similar to the same kind of iridescent black stone. And that was actually what the relief was made of that I was trying to capture in my drawing.
Very curious. The whole thing is a puzzle. There are terms in there that I don't understand their significance. So I wanted to know if you're free of duties here come fall, if you might like to take part in some departmental research into the matter.
Ooh, I must say that would be most enlightening. I would greatly appreciate being allowed to be a part of that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Mr. Monroe. I'm off to teach my classes.
My good doctor, I was wondering if perhaps you could put in a good word for me with the assistant director. There's a collection of papers that's in the restricted section that I need to access for one of my current expeditions, one of my investigations into the past.
Post haste.
Well, let's go make an introduction.
Thank you, good sir.
All right, so you walk up to this Wilfred, and he's now free of speaking to the police officer, but he's kind of in that stage where he has too many things to do at once, so he's doing nothing and being real stressed out about it. But he said, or Galloway's like, Mr. Lanford, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Monroe. He was a student of mine in years past and now runs a successful Curioso in Boston. If you're ever down there, you should check out his display on Peruvian artifacts. Quite a find. I have not seen its like in any other museum.
And I'll take out one of my pamphlets and, of course, hand it to the man.
He's like, I already have 2. The students, they were just handing them to me. But anyhow, yeah. He's like, oh, well, nice to meet you.
Is Justin's pamphlets like a mythos item now and that they're kind of infectious?
Right. They just keep multiplying overnight. Well, in any case, Monroe was hoping to get a look at the restricted collection, and I'm putting a good word in for him. He was a exemplary student, and he's become successful in his own right. I'm sure you've heard of the expedition to Peru that was in the papers a few months back. Well, this is one of those expeditionaries, and he seems uncertain. He's like, Armitage requires that he okay people individually for it. But as you can see, he's kind of wavering. However, it's going to require a hard persuade roll, if that's what you're going to use.
Yep, I'll give it a shot.
Push it. get kicked out of this library to follow in your...
But go ahead and roll your credit rating too.
That's not going to be a whole lot better.
That's sort of a multi-tiered thing to get into this restricted collection.
Follow in your mentor's footsteps, Herr Monroe.
Where is my credit rating?
It's a skill.
Yeah. They're alphabetical,
There
I
it
believe.
is. Well, sort of alphabetical. Yeah, that's it's not going to happen.
Yeah, so you can see your style of dress. I mean, when you start saying this is what I want to do, he kind of looks you up and down. And he's like, what, does a clown want to come and read restricted collection books?
So this is where I'm going to use Father's imposed suggestion. And so, yeah, I'll as I'm, speaking with the man, I'll say it would be great help to me and, of course, to all researchers if I could have access to that. It should only be for a short time. And I'm sure and this is where it'll come in. I'm sure you'll be more than happy to assist in such a research.
Okay. All right. So
in any way possible.
Let's see here. What's the MP cost on that going to be?
Yeah,
it's just the lowest level. So 5 magic points is the cost. How many magic points do you have?
18.
Okay. And then 1d3 sanity point loss. And you must succeed at a regular power roll.
1d3.
And there's a little bit of a clue to your state of waking up is when you went out to reach out with your psyche to smooth your request, the way for your request. That's where you realize why you're so tapped. Is it was a little bit more difficult to do that since the last time you experimented with it since you woke up this morning.
Okay. All right. So I lost 2 sanity.
Okay. Power roll.
Power roll. Oh, that's a hard power roll.
Oh.
Sorry. It would be 56 out of 90.
Okay. So with successful power roll casting a spell, you immediately get to see if your power increases. So you're trying to fail power for a power increase.
Yeah, good luck, man.
Now I get the hard success. So no, I don't get a power increase, but
so yeah, it goes through and you saw it in Whitmire when you successfully used it on him in the past. Just this sudden desire to obey. He says, well, I'm sure with Dr. Ronald Galloway's recommendation, it won't be a problem. However, I must stick to the rest of the rules. You can only be in there for 4 hours. And of course, I will have to be present or one of my librarians.
That should be just fine. Thank you. As I assumed that you, being a man of great scholarly aptitude, that you wouldn't stand to impede me.
No, of course not. I never seek to impede. We are here to help.
And my good sir, have you gone through the restricted materials yourself?
No, I'm actually uncertain as to why he keeps these tomes here, but he is much more knowledgeable in these matters than I am.
Okay. Do you happen to have any librarians or anyone that has helped with them that may know a little bit more about their content and may be able to assist me in finding what I look for?
Not that I'm aware of. He has kept them under lock and key for a few years now.
Okay.
But I have some matters to attend to, so I'm going to have one of my librarians come in here with you. And, excuse me. So that's what happens. The librarian leads you in. He unlocks a door. Some of the books are under lock and key, like in their own little cages or glass cases. Make a spot hidden roll when you walk in.
All right. Spot hidden. Ooh.
Dang.
How'd you do?
Extreme success. John didn't sap all the luck entirely.
I know. That's why I'm saying it's me. It's going to be me.
I think we've all had at least one of those game sessions where everything we try fails.
Yeah.
All right. So as you look around the room, which is roughly octagonal in shape, and it's just a small collection of books. There's not even really shelves or anything like that. There's just little areas to read or lay them out. You look above the door frame behind you, and you see a strange star symbol, carved in like an iron plaque installed in the wood there. You've not seen the like of it before. It's 5 points, but at odd angles, and it has sort of like a flame maybe in the center of the star.
Okay.
but just a curious occult-like thing you've never seen before. But anyhow, he says, I'll leave you to it. My librarian is going to be right over here in the corner to keep an eye on you. I'm sure you're not up to anything good. These are just the mandates laid down by Dr. Armitage. But we'll pause with you and jump over to see what else Mr. Mueller's going to do.
Oh, like I'm basically like set until
Just reading?
yeah, till the after or till we get ready to go on that train.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have anything more from the book for you there.
Okay.
So then we'll pop over to the guys heading out of town. So yeah, it's about an hour's drive. You guys come to this address that Mr. Rupert Merriweather had listed when he gave those materials to Mr. Monroe. And it proves to be a smallish home, the kind you would expect a retired police to be able to afford on his pension. And it's kind of out in the backwoods in a way. Pull it up. But there you see an old man sitting on his rocker, just looking at the late morning sun and sky as you guys pull up. Did you know what kind of vehicle you drove, John?
Let me see if we put that down. Chevrolet, it says FB Coupe.
Okay, so yeah, you break down the end of this dirt path in front of this house, and the old man doesn't seem too disturbed by your appearance there. He just waits in his rocker for you guys to make the approach.
Yeah, so get out and give him a wave, and start to walk up. Ask him if he's I think he was a detective, so I'll ask him, are you Detective Barrister?
Yeah, used to be. Anyways, well, still barrister, but no longer detective.
All right. Say, well, my name's James Whitmire, and this is Dr. Andrews. We had a couple of questions, hoping that you might be able to provide some answers for. We know that back in May of 1912, you had done a police report on a raid in a church of the Chapel of Contemplation. We happen to have seen that police report. There's some missing items in it. I was hoping that you might be able to help fill in those blanks.
Yeah, sure, I can. I don't see that there's any harm in it. Every few months I get a new crew of people coming here asking about the Chapel of Contemplation. So you want to know about who was there?
Yeah, who was there, and any odd goings on that wasn't included in the report.
Sure. Well, there were some 30 members of the church there that were arrested, ranging from politicians to button men and Brunos. The big ones were Councilman Daniel Ellsworth, Congressman William Murrow, and they had that vaudeville player. She was real famous back then, Lily Flores. That's the ones that were redacted out of the report. Everybody was arrested, but they all escaped charges except for Michael Thomas. He was charged with 4 counts of manslaughter.
Congressman what?
William Murrow.
And who was the other big shot?
You got Councilman Daniel Ellsworth. And then there was a famous vaudeville player, Lily Flores. Yeah, they all got off. The defending lawyer, Samuel Blackman or something, he successfully portrayed the events as another case of authorities overstepping their limits and not respecting constitutional rights. Bunch of bull. Well, you know what it is. Anyhow, the prosecution backed away from charging any other members of the church and settled on just the ones that stuck to Michael Thomas. He was sentenced to life in prison. My testimony was shredded by some young police officer that they got to say he was there. Saw something different.
Who was that?
I can't remember the kid's name. I'm sure if you pulled up the court records, they'd be in there.
So what exactly were they doing in there?
You can see it causes him some discomfort to sort of access those memories. So he's going to need a little bit more prodding from you guys in the way of a social skill roll.
Pull out the guns.
Do you want to give this one a go? I think your persuade might be a little bit better than the fast talk.
Yeah, I'll try to persuade him to keep talking to it.
Nice.
All right. So with that
Yeah.
hard success, very nice. Well, we saw kids. You know, they were killing kids. That's what Commissioner Turgeson's suspicion was. That's what everybody was saying. Kids were disappearing. That's where they thought they were going. You know, they were bound and gagged when we went in there. They appeared to be sleeping and lying in a row on a table, surrounded by all these robed wackadoos of the congregation. But something came up from the basement steps. It was a man, but like an old man, ancient beyond description, and his eyes, they were glowing yellow, real funny. I remember thinking it was like the light of the morning sun. I don't know why I thought that, but that was in my head. We were shouting at the congregation to cease their chanting. You know, they were Latin or something. That was what my partner said. I remember looking at Phelps and seeing that same glow in his eyes that was in that man that came up from the basement. And that's when he pulled his service pistol and fired a shot into the roof of his mouth. That's when all hell broke loose. After we exchanged gunfire with the robed figures up top and they fled underneath into the basement, we saw a lot more robed figures when we pursued them down there. We heard that chanting again. We saw another kid, but he'd been ritually slaughtered. His throat and wrists were cut, and the blood was draining from the table into a shallow basin. Before I could take it all in, Officer Dunn screamed and started shooting. I remember looking at the far end of the room, and then next thing I'm running. At some point, I threw my lantern at an old bookshelf and kept running. All I remember is that whatever it was that was there, I didn't want it to be there anymore. I wanted to burn it. You ever get that feeling? Like you go in a room, cobweb touches you, you see a big old black spider up in the corner, just want to burn it down?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Well, that's what it was. I don't even know how to begin to describe what I saw. And he's silent for a time, sort of lost in thought.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a few minutes here. This is what try to puzzle some of this out.
You know, we've been on to them a lot longer than these rumors of satanic practices and child sacrifice. They always seem to avoid attention, that chapel of contemplation. 1877, the police searched those grounds once before under suspicion of theft. They stole some Egyptian artifact from the British Museum. We never found the item. False walls and secret doors were what we found, and that kind of took, when the papers, you know, that made them bad in the public eye. Word of stage seances came out, and I guess they fell off for a little while, and it wasn't until I got around to them again that they started getting a good name with people.
So did this shut them down for good, or do you know if they moved to a new spot? And did you ever hear anything about them afterwards? I know you said Michael Thomas was in prison, but what about the others?
They just faded after the raid into everyday public life. That's the thing about this chapel. It's like a black hole that information and good police work disappears into. You know, the guy that told me about the raid earlier in 1877 on suspicion of theft, he died the same year as we did our raid. And everybody that took part of the 1912 raid, they died too. I mean, every one of them, except for Michael Thomas and myself.
Where was Michael Thomas sentenced to?
Well, he got life in prison. I think they sent him up there to Concord, and he escaped 3 years ago. I guess there was some kind of explosion. Couldn't find his body, so they presumed he escaped, and 4 other men ended up in the loony bin after the explosion. 4 other convicts, as I hear it tell. Is that everything you guys wanted to know? I always wondered what happens to the rest of you guys come up here and ask me about the old chapel. Seems like nothing ever comes of it.
Who was the last people to come ask you?
Just some college kids. I don't know. Been a long time since I was in school. Wearing their fancy jackets.
Did their jackets have and I'll describe the Harvard, what's that?
The crest?
Yeah, that crest with the...
Were you going to pull out your drawing, Whitmire?
Sand check.
Yeah, he listens to your description and he says, yep, that's the crest they had on their jacket. That's the one. And that is where we'll have to end for today, guys.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Thanks for playing. Man. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks for game mastering.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's get those skill rolls and luck rolls.
I don't think I had any this time.
There was a newspaper clipping that Dr. 'Call gave us.
This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.